a World War I cross memorial could become one of the first cases that's heard by Justice Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. And the outcome could have very big implications for other religious monuments with crosses in them across the country, including those at Arlington National Cemetery. Joining me now is Shannon Bream, host of Fox News at Night and our resident Supreme Court expert. Shannon, good to see you tonight. This is an interesting case. For 36 years, this cross was on private land, and then in 1961, it was on state land. So what's at stake here, and how's it going to work?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We've been tracking this case for years because it's been spending a lot of time in the lower courts. It's a large cross that sits in Maryland in an area that, yes, is now controlled by state authorities, by parklands. And so the government is involved a little bit here. Now, the Fourth Circuit, the next level down from the Supreme Court, said essentially they thought that this did amount to the government sort of endorsing a religion. They said this cross that was put up to recognize a number of young men who were lost in World War I by their Gold Star mothers and also the American Legion. They said by using that cross, it looks like an endorsement of Christianity. So there's been this fight back and forth that is now finally on the calendar for the Supreme Court to vote on it. And now with Justice Kavanaugh on the bench, people think this could be one of the cases he might be a yes vote to hear.
So what do you think is the main constitutional question that they will consider when they look at this?
They're looking at whether the government is endorsing this idea of any specific religion over another. And so people have argued for years with a number of these memorials that, listen, these were to the war dead, and many of them are this large Latin cross that was understood decades ago to be a memorial, not necessarily saying everyone who perished here was Christian, but this is for our war dead. You mentioned other places. Let's talk about Arlington National Cemetery here in Washington, just outside D.C. There are two very large Latin crosses, much like this one in Maryland. So people are very worried about this. Potentially, if you take down the one in Maryland, does every cross inside a place like Arlington have to go? So there are much bigger questions. It takes 4 votes for the court to hear the case. So we'll watch. This is on the conference list for October 26th. They vote behind closed doors. If 4 of the justices say we're ready to answer this question, they'll vote yes to put this on the calendar.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Any indication based on prior decisions how Justice Kavanaugh, might approach this?
He's very much been viewed as somebody who is very supportive of religious liberty issues. And some of these cases involving the HHS contraceptive mandate, where religious employers and others were going to be forced to pay for certain kinds of contraceptives they said they had a religious objection to because they viewed some of them as triggering what they believe were abortions. He was supportive of the idea of religious freedom in those cases. So a lot of people think he would be someone to be an advocate in this kind of case. We'll have to see. He has a bit of a record on religious liberty, but not specifically with one of these big memorials because they're all over the country.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. Thank you so much, Shannon. Great stuff. Good to see you tonight.
You too.
So UN Ambassador Nikki Haley came out swinging at the annual Al Smith charity dinner here in New York.
I get it. You wanted an Indian woman, but Elizabeth Warren failed her DNA test.
So my ladies' night panel here to weigh in on that. Plus, what do you think about iPad tipping? Does it annoy you? The big debate coming up next.